Seb the Cat. So today we are going to be working on our Godot game. It is a multiplayer split screen game made for mobile, and it's called SplitRacers. And let's have a quick look at how the game is progressing and go through some of the things we've built into the game recently. So yesterday we coded a new weapon, well, two new weapons, a fire shield and a pea shooter. So let's give those a quick test and see how they're feeling. Let's just make sure as well that the sound is coming through correctly.
Collect stars and weapons.
A little bit. It's cutting out a little bit, but... Yeah, I'm having a bit of an issue with my capture card, so let me just restart my capture card and see if this helps.
Phase 1. Collect.
That's a lot better, isn't it? Okay, cool. So, let's give our new weapons a bit of a test. We'll start off by zooming around and just collecting some stars. So we have something to lose when we get shot.
Fire shield. Slide. Ice. Phase 2. Fight.
Now, the way that the stars work is they're kind of like the power rings from Sonic the Hedgehog. And you've got 30 seconds at the beginning of the game, or each round, to collect as many stars as possible before all the stars disappear, and then you're just forced to murder each other. Okay, so let's have a look at our fire shield that we implemented yesterday. We definitely need to work on these icons because of the scaling. They're having some issues here, but we'll think about that later. Okay, so if I hold down the fire shield and activate it at full strength... Oh, well, I'm too far. Okay, so I'm going to set the other person on fire, and then they're going to burn, and over time they're going to emit stars. And they're going to emit 3 stars. Whenever you get burnt, you emit 3 stars. So it is one of the strongest weapons, but in fact the strongest weapon, not this. So if we shoot out these weapons, okay. So the strongest weapon technically in the game is the other one we built yesterday, which is the pea shooter. So the pea shooter is kind of hard to hit, right? Like if you just shoot a weak one, it's just going to send a single pea towards your opponent. And it's kind of slow. It's kind of difficult to target that correctly. However, if I power up the pea shooter to full strength, and if I can land any shots, I can essentially take up to 10 stars away from my opponent as long as I can keep them in my sights. So on the touch screen you can aim by dragging left and right. So that's actually quite useful for those small little aiming maneuvers, right? Cool. The other thing we added yesterday was we added this effect for when you get shot. So there's like a little shield that emanates out when you shoot away one of your stars. And one thing you've noticed probably is that our stars have a chance to regenerate. A little bit like the power rings from Sonic the Hedgehog. There's a chance for those those stars to regenerate after you lose them, but there's only a 50% chance. So that means that the battle will always end eventually, right? Okay, so one thing I noticed quickly is that the pea shooter collision noise is far too loud, so I'm just going to quickly update that. That will be under weapons, pea shooter die. So how's that sound? Okay, so that's way too loud. We'll just say like a -6 maybe. Maybe even less than that. -16. Cool. All right. So we've now got our pea shooter, our fire shield, and we're now going to implement our final weapon, which is the laser. Now our laser is going to be quite a unique weapon to implement. So normally, most of our weapons are some form of projectile, but our laser is not going to be a projectile, right? That's not how lasers work. Well, technically it is if you think about photons, but in terms of games, it's not how they work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new scene which represents the laser. And I think this is just going to be a node 2D. So it's not going to have any special behavior. And then we're going to create a sprite which represents the beam. And then we're going to create a position which is going to represent the beam end. And then what we're going to do is we're going to well, actually, I think that will be fine to begin with. So I'm going to head over to Sprite and maybe just create a new sprite from scratch. And we'll start this being quite simple. So I imagine we'll have something maybe about 8 pixels wide and 4 pixels tall. And we'll just have a grayscale for now. Right. And let's just have black on the edges. A light gray dark gray in here. Okay, and then we'll have a white, pure white in the middle here. Okay, and in fact, there's probably no reason to go all the way black here. Otherwise, we may as well not have a sprite at all, or a pixel here at all. So we'll just have a slightly less dark black. Okay, so I'm just going to save that. And we'll probably want that to go in our weapons, laser, and I'm going to call that beam.png. Okay. And now for our beam, we can load that texture in. And let's just make sure that we are repeating our texture. And that will allow us to scale the sprite. Okay. So I think we want to do a -2 offset. So this now allows us to shoot it forward only. And we want to enable regioning. And what was that? 8x4. Cool. All right. So essentially this is going to represent our beam, and we can increase this height as we go. Okay. Now what the next thing we're going to need is a Raycast. So that's going to look a little bit like this, Raycast. And it's going in the wrong direction. So we want to go like -999. Okay. I think that should pretty much cover any level I want to build. I don't imagine it will be much bigger than that. Okay. And our array is going to collide with players, the environment, maybe collectibles, and projectiles. Yeah, so I think that will make sense for the laser. So the laser is going to be quite powerful. And I imagine that if we make the laser collide with more things, it's going to make it more of a niche weapon, right? So you're going to have to take your surroundings into account. I think that's going to be better for gameplay. Well, we'll see. Okay. The Raycast needs to be enabled, of course. And we're only going to collide with areas, with bodies, not areas. Cool. All right. So I think with that, we might want to have some particles, and we're going to put that as a child of the beam end position. So as we move this end position, the particles will come with us. Cool. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new. So we want to turn local coordinates off. So that means as we move our laser beam, the particles are going to stay in place, right? So that essentially the particles are going to be consider the world for their position, not the beam itself. Because if we were moving the beam around, we want the particles to sort of stay where they are, if that makes sense. Cool. All right, so we need a process material, and I found some cool assets yesterday coming from Kenny. Now, if you don't know Kenny, with 2 E's, 2 N's, 2 E's, he is a prolific game asset developer, and he provides some of the best free assets available. So if you go over to kenny.nl, you will be able to download a lot of this stuff for free, and he's fantastic. I might want to do some sort of muzzle flash when we do shooting at some point. Okay.